What's up, Rube? It's Little Big Robots back with another video. Hey, if you like 2 videos per week that have to do with little versions of big robots, in other words, mecha, stuff like that, subscribe, please. I'm trying to get as close to 10,000 as I can by the end of the year, around, I'm at 4,000 something now. So, it's 6,000 or 7,000 would be fantastic. I don't know. But anyway, also leave a comment, subscribe. I love talking about this stuff in the comment section. I've discovered so many lines and bots and stuff from viewers who leave a comment, so I really appreciate all that. Today I'm going to be talking about this mecha, which continues to pop up in my brain. It continues to pop up in my feed. I just see it everywhere. This is the mmorpg-gaming. I don't know, I can't pronounce it right. From the anime called Amaim, A-M-A-I-M. Amaim, and the subtitle is Warrior at the Borderline. I always get that wrong. I'm now rewatching. I finished most of season 1. I'm picking it up, and I'm going to watch season 1 and season 2. I think it ends at season 2 on Crunchyroll of this anime. Basically, what it is you have Japan's divided into 4 factions. Each faction has its different mecha and its different bots and stuff. And this is the main character. A kid finds it, fixes it up with junk. Of course, he's a 16-year-old kid who doesn't know his parents, or the usual kind of tropes for anime. But it gets really interesting when you get into the mecha and into the fighting, and it seems so far, and from what I've seen, it feels a bit more tactile or realistic. Whereas Gunpla are giant. I don't know how tall Gunpla are. This is 148 scale, if that gives you an idea. 144 scale Gunpla is only like that. So these are not as huge as you would with the Gunpla. Just to give an idea, this is the little hatch here. You can see the seat in there probably. Let's see if you see that. That gives you about an idea of how large it is. I did not grab the character from the box. I forgot. This thing pops down when it's elevated down, and it can lift him up to go in there. So that gives you an idea. He can stand right there. So, you get a kind of an idea of how large it is. If you haven't checked this kit out, this is the 148 scale, I should say, full mechanics special edition. It has the smoky armor stuff. I put on one piece, and I decided I liked the regular armor. Right now, as of time of this recording I can't remember what day it is. You'll see it on the publishing date. This guy's on, I found the non-special edition, so the regular kit, but non-special edition for $27. So I ordered an extra one. There's a few kits and stuff that I get extras if I can. This keeps popping up in my brain for some reason, and I sat down and I wanted to think about why. It's a very divisive kind of design, and I can kind of see why. First of all, it has the colors of Ronald McDonald. Kind of looks like a chicken. That's always stuck out to me. Of course, that can be changed with paint and stuff like that. I don't know if in the rest of the anime the colors change and stuff. If you want to spoil it for me, go ahead. I'm still watching the anime. But what's really interesting to me is how the arms are created here, how they're attached, is using, instead of the arm coming down directly in the middle, it's on the side. It's built on the side of the arm, as you can see there. I'll link my original full review in this, and this is not a review. This is more of an overview of why I really like this kit and this line of mecha. This is, if you're old enough to remember, if you weren't a child in the 2000s, which a lot of you possibly are, which is insane to say. 2000 was 24 years ago. I was married in 2003. I'm 50 years old almost. I'll be 50 soon. So for me, I didn't grow up in the 2000s, but I remember the 2000s very well. It was an exciting time of tech coming up. Apple was coming up with all their funky designs and all that kind of stuff. And this design, these legs and how everything is very angular, whereas a Gunpla tries to be almost humanoid sometimes looking. This design is very much modern, but what feels like futuristic modern, meaning that if I was to look up, let's say, some of the old Yamaha bots from the 2000s, they were white, slick. They kind of rounded off edges, or at least tried to be. But they had a boxiness to them. They had a utilitarian kind of, they looked like they could be used. They looked sturdy. Whereas nowadays, if you look at like the new Boston Dynamics robot, if you saw the video, if not, I'll either be posting clips of that stuff in here or I will link to it. Excuse me. They're definitely getting much more humanoid looking, but also still retaining a very a warehouse worker type style robot look. So in a weird way, for those of us who grew up in the 2000s or remember the 2000s, or for those of you who remember the 2000s, including, I bet, the creators of this bot and design in the show, this is reminiscent of a futuristic idea, but in the past. 20 years ago doesn't seem that long ago to me. To you as a kid, it might, or as a younger person, it might. But so in a way, the familiarity of this style of design, this white, clean look, this, you can almost see where the motors would go for the connect. It's almost very, what's that called? A segue. You know what I mean? You can, in a Gundam, it's all kind of hidden behind a humanoid form, sometimes a very alien humanoid form. And this one, it's very much, you can tell two motors probably go there and create the lift, right? It's very, very interesting in the way that it makes you think of the future when it's actually, the design elements of it are probably actually a bit dated. But I'll also, as an example, I'll use this. This is an actual early 2000s Mac. This is a toy. This is an iRobot. I'll link to this as well. He said, oh, did I bend it? No, I did not. I've had this for a few years, so it's a little bit dusty. The creator of this is fantastic. I'll link his site. Really nice guy. I've talked to him through email. He does these little classic Macs that have all these great little details and stuff in them, and they're really nice if you have a Mac user in your life. I use both Mac, PC, iOS, Android. I use it all. I have literally every operating system you can have probably in this house. I'm trying to get this back on here. I'm going to have to do that later. We didn't have this Mac, the blue one. We had the Flower Power iMac. And so to see this is really, really nostalgic for a certain set of people. If you're a younger person in the 2000s, this is very nostalgic. Maybe you had these in school. But it's a great little bot. It's a great little collectible. The arms are magnetic and stick on. You can get these still, but you can also get his newer versions. He does the really old Macs as well, like the old tan ones. They're not Macintosh, they're inspired by it. Anyway, this gives you an idea of what I'm talking about here. This was the hot design, lots of plastic, really organic kind of shapes. Yet it still allowed you to see the insides of the computer. It wanted you to see the insides of the computer. It didn't hide them. You can still get some tech these days that is clear. You can even, if I wanted to, funny enough, I could put the clear armor on this mech and see the inner frame. So it's kind of a similar feeling to that. And then you have this guy, which is one of my favorite. This is Maru Toys robot. Now I have dropped this twice. Because I'm a knucklehead, and he's taken the fall pretty darn well. This was one of my favorite toys, mechs of not mechs, robot kits of all time. For some reason, it didn't. Oh, he does. He has a little crack there, doesn't he? Oh, poor guy. I need to get another few of these. He didn't make it into my top 30 or whatever list I made a while ago. I completely forgot, but it's still one of my favorite things ever. It's got this clever little arm that folds out, has a little grabber claws on it, like that. The head is adorable. It pops right out, but when you pop the head out, you get this detail under there, so you could see that could be for maintenance. The legs pop out really, really simply, but beautifully, absolutely beautifully. Look at all that detail in there. So I think this comes off here for like a maintenance hatch. It's just this Maru Toys, this line, I believe it is an individual, correct me if I'm wrong, and started off with the sketches and stuff and started making these kits, and now Kota Bakoya makes these kits. This is one of the most brilliant things ever. I love this. It's so fun. But you can see what I'm going for here. This is kind of a more classic design, or a more aughts design, but put into a robot form using very visible, obvious motors where you would hear the whirring of the motor stuff. Gunpla and Gundams are really based on kind of space magic in a way, if you think of it. In fact, some of them literally are. With the pilots and stuff having almost like psychic powers and all that stuff like that. This is because it's so familiar, because it's so, it's based in a design ethic and idea that is so familiar to many of us who grew up recently or who have lived through the recent technology decades, that it feels futuristic, but we don't know why. You would think that a Gundam, actually, with all of its magical fibers and abilities to move like a human really fast and all, that's almost more magical and would almost feel more like futuristic to me. But this actually does, because it feels familiar and futuristic. So I was thinking, other than the Mech and the Yamaha bots, for example, if I want to put up a little screenshot or something of Ed 209, if not, you know what I'm talking about. Ed 209 is the nemesis from RoboCop, the first RoboCop. Amazing design, designed by, I'm forgetting his name. He's wonderful. He did a lot of the stop motion stuff on Star Wars, Empire Strikes Back. He did the AT-ATs and stuff. The stop motion. He's just Phil Tippett, I believe his name is. I'm sorry. He did Ed 209, if I'm not mistaken. He also designed the one in RoboCop 2, I believe, the evil one with the head and all that. Anyway, that design, if you look at it, is people want to say classic, but to me, that's because of its militaristic look. It reminds you of a futuristic helicopter or something that we have now. So to us, we see something that reminds us of technology now that seems advanced now, and we think it feels futuristic, even though these might be set 100, 200, 50 years, whatever, in the future, if that makes sense. So it's actually kind of a smart little thing to do, to be able to use a design kind of idea that works for people watching it right now. So in other words, 100 years in the future, will they watch that and think that's terribly dated? I don't know, because if you look at, for example, Robbie the Robot from Forbidden Planet, I believe, Robbie the Robot is obviously very dated looking, but his design is so famous, it's so embedded in our brain, that Robbie the Robot is, while he is kind of kitschy or whatever, he's kind of like, obviously like a 50s, 60s, whatever style design, to the future or that kind of stuff. He's almost timeless. So I don't know if this type of design will eventually be accepted by everybody and be like, wow, that's really advanced looking, when in 10 or 20 years we have bots who look a lot like this, using this kind of side arm technology, the legs. Your brain kind of fills in that gap there, so you don't really notice it, but then you notice, oh wait, the leg is on the side. It's not just a normal human leg. You see that gap there, which, by the way, is really smart for putting the arm up really high. And also his gun here, see if I can take it off. I'll show you. This is kind of interesting. And you'll see this all in my review if you want to go check it out. The gun here actually will rest. So when he holds the gun, the stock there literally rests in that gap. So that design, that was taken into, the gun design, or this design was taken into consideration for that gap there. Holds more, maybe it holds it more steadier, it helps with the recoil, I don't know, but I think that's an interesting kind of thing as well. It's got this classic kind of samurai sword, or I'm sorry, what do you call this, like a ninja sword or whatever, katana or whatever. I find the swords kind of dumb. I'm more of a melee fan myself. I don't like big giant guns, but for a realistic bot like this, I think a big gun is completely appropriate, because that's what you would have. If you don't have this in the future, you're just going to have a tank in the future, So it's really, really interesting. I mean, if you look at something like the RX-72, when people see the RX-72 right now, depending on the kit, of course, but let's just say the design, it definitely looks dated, but like Robbie the Robot, it's lived so long in our consciousness now that it's now classic and timeless. If we look at the black hole robots, two of the greatest, funnest designs ever, especially Maximilian, but let's say the two friendly robots, what's their names, Bob and why am I forgetting the other one? Anyway, they look dated, I guess, but if you were to hold them on their own outside of the movie, like if you have the toys like I do, they don't look dated. They just look like an interesting design. So I can't stop thinking about this thing, how its legs can be kind of humanoid looking, but yet still bent forward. The quality of this kit as well is amazing. I can't recommend enough that you pick this up. Pick up a couple of them if they're $25, $27, like the one I found on eBay. And maybe I'll link to that sale that I found somebody selling it for. You should get 2 or 3 of these things, and just to mess with custom. Oh, see, I didn't even notice the arms had gaps. Just to customize them, just to play with them. Now, remember, the $27 one is not the smoky one with the armor. You don't get the smoky armor and all that stuff with it, but it should be a 1/48 full mechanics, the same thing. I'm getting ready to get mine soon, so I'll check. If anybody knows the difference before I get mine in the mail, let me know. So it's just got a lot of really, really interesting design choices in it. I don't know what it is. I guess it's because, like I said, it reminds me of futuristic 20 years ago, and that still feels futuristic to me. It's like an iPod with legs. I don't know. Let me know what you think, if that makes any sense at all to you, and if you have any designs out there of bots that you think kind of fulfill this similar kind of thing, like retro future that works still, because we don't have these bots yet, so that's futuristic, but yet it feels like it's from the past a little bit. Really, a really interesting thing to think about. But anyway, have a good day, everybody. I thought I'd let you see one of my favorite mecha. There you go. Have a good one. Talk to you later. Bye-bye.